A song comes on, maybe from your phone, maybe from a toy, maybe you are humming without thinking about it. Your baby goes still, not startled, still. Eyes wide, mouth slightly open, body frozen mid-reach, like every system in their tiny body just rerouted to listen. You watch their face change. Something is happening behind those eyes that looks less like hearing and more like being hit by something they cannot name. Most people smile and move on, which is understandable, but auditory neuroscientists at some of the leading infant research labs in the world have spent the last 2 decades studying exactly what fires inside a baby's brain the first time music enters it. And what they found doesn't just explain that frozen look on your baby's face, it reveals something fundamental about how human emotion is born. The obvious explanation is startle. Babies react to new sounds all the time. A door closing, a dog barking, a spoon hitting the floor. Their auditory system is fresh and sensitive, so music is just another loud or novel stimulus getting a reflexive response. That makes sense on the surface. The startle reflex is real, well documented, and present from birth. Except the startle reflex lasts about half a second. It produces a specific physical pattern. Arms fling outward, eyes squeeze shut, the body tenses and releases. That is not what happens when a baby hears music. When a baby hears music, they do the opposite. They open, they go still, their eyes widen rather than close, their breathing slows rather than spikes. And the response doesn't last half a second, it can hold for 30 seconds, a minute, sometimes longer. That is not reflex, that is attention shaped by something the startle response cannot account for. And what they found in the data was something nobody anticipated. In 2010, researchers at the University of Montreal's International Laboratory for Brain, Music, and Sound Research, led by Dr. Isabelle Peretz, one of the foremost experts on music cognition in the world, published findings in the Annals of the New York Academy of Sciences that changed how the field understood infant auditory processing. Using near-infrared spectroscopy, a technique that measures blood flow changes in the brain through the skull without any invasive contact, they monitored newborns as young as 1 to 3 days old while exposing them to musical sequences for the first time. What they found stopped the lab cold. The infants' brains did not process music the way they processed other sounds. Speech activated the left temporal lobe. Environmental noise activated broad, diffuse areas. But music activated the right auditory cortex and simultaneously triggered the limbic system, the brain's emotional core. Not sequentially, simultaneously. Your newborn does not hear music and then feel something. They hear music and feel something at the same instant, in the same neural event. The sound and the emotion are fused. Your baby is not reacting to music, they are experiencing it, the way you experience a wave of sadness or a rush of joy, not as a thought, as a state. But here's where it gets even stranger.
Because that is only part of what is happening. Researchers at McMaster University's Institute for Music and the Mind conducted a series of studies examining something developmental neuroscientists now call neural entrainment, the process by which an infant's brain waves literally synchronize to the rhythmic structure of the music they hear. Using EEG monitoring on infants as young as 7 months, they found that when a baby hears a steady musical beat, their cortical oscillations, the electrical rhythms of their brain, lock onto it, like a metronome pulling a pendulum into sync. Your baby's brain is not just listening to the rhythm, it is adopting it, matching its own internal electrical timing to the pattern of the music. And the precision of this entrainment, how tightly their brain syncs to the beat, correlates directly with the baby's later capacity for social turn-taking, emotional regulation, and language rhythm detection. The music is not entertainment, it is calibration. And the study that proved just how deep this calibration runs is one that changed how pediatric researchers think about the first year of life. Now I want to tell you about a study that redefined what developmental scientists understood about musical exposure in infancy, a finding so consequential that it shifted clinical recommendations at multiple children's hospitals. It was conducted at the University of Washington's Institute for Learning and Brain Sciences. The setup was precise. 2 groups of 9-month-old infants. Both groups came in for 12 sessions over 4 weeks. Group 1 spent each session in a structured music play environment, rhythmic music, guided interaction, drumming, movement times to the beat. Group 2 spent the same amount of time in a structured play environment with toys and social interaction, but no music. After the 4 weeks, researchers scanned both groups using magnetoencephalography, one of the most precise brain imaging tools available. The results were stark. The music group showed significantly enhanced neural processing in the auditory cortex, but that was expected. What nobody expected was the second finding. The music group also showed enhanced activation in the prefrontal cortex, the brain region responsible for pattern detection, attention control, and cognitive flexibility. Music had not just trained their ears, it had reshaped their thinking architecture. Dr. Patricia Kuhl, who led the study, concluded that musical experience in infancy doesn't remain in the auditory system, it migrates. It builds infrastructure the brain will use for everything: language, math, emotional reading, social prediction. You are not just playing a song, you are running a construction program on your baby's prefrontal cortex. There is one more layer to this that almost no one outside pediatric neuroscience circles discusses, and it involves what kind of musical exposure matters most and why it connects to you specifically. Researchers at Harvard's Laboratory for Developmental Studies found that the strongest neural entrainment responses in infants do not occur when music is played from a speaker. They occur when music comes from a live human voice. When you sing to your baby, even badly, even off-key, even the same 4 lines of the same song over and over, their brain synchronizes more tightly, their limbic activation is stronger, and their cortisol levels drop more sharply than with any recorded music. Your voice is the instrument their brain is tuned to receive. What you sing becomes the template their auditory cortex builds its pattern library from. What they hear in your rhythm, they wire into their capacity for emotional regulation, attention, and social connection. Every lullaby is not just comfort, it is a neural pathway being laid, a circuit being strengthened, a piece of the architecture of who your child will become. So now I need to tell you about the warning.
If your baby consistently shows no response to music, no head turning, no stillness, no change in expression, no rhythmic body movement by 6 to 9 months, that is worth paying attention to. It does not mean something is wrong. Some babies are more visually oriented. Some process auditory input more internally than externally. Every developmental trajectory is different, but auditory processing researchers are clear that a consistent absence of musical responsiveness by 9 months is one of several early markers worth discussing with a pediatrician or audiologist. The brain's auditory plasticity window in the first year is extraordinary. Neural pathways that are shaped at 6 months become significantly harder to build at 2 years. Early identification of auditory processing differences changes outcomes dramatically because the intervention window is narrow and the brain's capacity to adapt is at its peak. If something about how your baby responds or does not respond to music feels off to you, trust that feeling. You have watched this child's face through 1,000 sounds. That is not a hunch, that is data. So the next time you play a song and your baby goes completely still, eyes wide, body frozen, something shifting behind their face that you cannot quite name, you will know what is actually happening. Their brain is not startled, it is synchronizing, locking on to the rhythm, flooding with emotion, building the neural architecture it will use to process language, regulate feelings, and connect with other humans for the rest of its life. 40,000 years of human beings singing to their children did not happen by accident. Music is the oldest technology our species ever built for shaping the infant brain, and your voice is the version of it your baby's brain was designed to receive. If this changed how you think about those small musical moments, subscribe to this channel and tell me in the comments, what is the one song that stops your baby completely every single time? Because now you know exactly what their brain is doing in that silence. And if you want to understand why babies stare at one parent more than the other, and what it actually reveals about how infant preference is constructed, that is the next video, and the neuroscience behind it challenges everything most people assume they know about who their baby loves more and why, and what none of it means in the way you expect before.